Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and look who I have here with me today.
Hello everyone, I'm V Nailed It.
And V is here in San Diego because we are hosting a 2-day class here in San Diego.
Yes, we are super excited. It's been going very, very well. I'm extremely happy to be here.
And guess what? We are having another class coming up in Pensacola in March.
So make sure you guys mark it in your calendar, stay ready, and we cannot wait to meet you guys. For today's video, we're gonna be doing Christmas nail art since we're still in Christmas time. So it's gonna be super easy.
Now let's get right into it. Alright guys, we are gonna start out. I do have my last set on. I just clipped it off, but I left the thumb still on because I feel like me doing the thumb takes a lot of my time. So I'm just gonna do the 4 fingers. So we're gonna start out by taking off the last set, and I am using the not polished tornado bit, and then we're gonna remove it. So always when we're removing the product, we drag it downward like this towards us, right? Boom, down, and then we go kind of around the cuticles and down. And again, I'm not soaking off this set. I'm just doing a backfill, like how you would do a backfill on your client. So to do a backfill, when your clients come back, say the nails already grew out, we're gonna remove about like 80% of the product to pretty thin. And when you remove about 80 to 90% of the nails, you can kind of see if the nails is lifting or not. If there's a lot of lifting, then you can go ahead and soak it off. But if still like the retention is still really good, we still can keep that set and then just kind of do a backfill over it. And the reason why I clipped it off is because so it could be faster for me to drill it off. You don't have to clip off the nails every time you don't want to. You want to keep the same tips, you can. But I'm just doing it so it could be a little bit faster. So right now, I'm just removing it. And as you can see, like that's down pretty good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of the nails off so you guys so we can start fresh, okay? All right, I already have the nails all filed off to like about 80%. So right now I'm gonna roughen up the nails so it doesn't lift. So while I'm roughing up the nails, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually soaking my brush in my jar of monomer. So again, in case there's some like stuff that's stuck to it, it'll like remove it by the time I'm done with applying on the tips, right? So now I'm gonna go in with our sanding band and we're gonna roughen up the nails. You see, okay, and you can see my jars of monomer right there with my brush soaked in, and then I'm just gonna push it back and file. And with this set, I am actually gonna go more into details with the cuticle because my nails, the cuticle is pretty good now. I'm just gonna roughen it up. Alright, we already have the nails roughened up pretty good. I'm going to use, again, my favorite tips. The long coffin tips. These are the non-C-curve, okay? And then, you know me, I always like to use a tip that's a smidge bigger actually. Don't ever use tips that's smaller, okay? We want to use, I want to use them a little bit smidge bigger because it's actually the tip itself is actually a little bit longer when it's bigger as well. I'm gonna trim the edges to make sure it fits perfectly, and then now we're gonna go in with a little drop of glue right on top, and then straight in. Hold it for like 2 seconds and let go. And then I look at it this way as well to make sure it's straight. Okay. Now I'm gonna go in with the rest of the nail. And I'm not going to trim those because I am going to go in with the hand file to file it to actually fit into my nail bed. So, you know what? Sometimes what happened is when you glue on the nails and it actually fell off, you actually have to wipe off the glue and actually kind of start over, or else the glue kind of get gooey as soon as it fell off like that. So I'm just going to wipe it up, okay guys? Don't try to glue it again now. And I'm gonna roughen up this spot again, okay? because it won't stick now. After like it kind of fell off like that, it actually will not stick. We'll dip it in a tiny bit of monomer so it'll be making sure it'll stick right in. Hold it for a second. And then look straight. Okay. Alright guys, I already have the tips all glued on. We're gonna trim them, okay? We're gonna trim them. So usually I go with the index first. I'm gonna trim them. The reason why I'm using tips that's a little bit bigger than my nail bed is because I've been like in the taper square tip, so with a little bit longer, it actually gives me more of a taper square tips as well. And I'm actually gonna make them a little bit shorter this time. So what I did is, as you can see, I lined cuticles to cuticles, so these three have to match, and then the pinky, we kind of eyeball it, right? And then now that looks good. The shapes are all the same length. I mean, the length's all this. I don't know what I just said. Okay, we're gonna go in with your tornado bit once again, and I'm just gonna smooth. I'm gonna blend this tip into the nail. Okay, we want to blend it nice and flush into the nail bed. And if you can see, I have a little bit of like a piece out right here because my nails, actually my middle finger nail is kind of like slanted on the side a little bit, so a little bit of the tip's gonna be sticking out on that side, and that's fine. So after we're done blending this into the nail bed, so make sure we blend it really well. And you guys know that I like to use my tornado bit because I feel like it actually blends it better, the nail tip into the nail bed a lot better, and it doesn't get as hot as yours, a regular sanded band, right? Now this is done. I'm gonna go in and actually, I'm gonna shape the nail tip to match with my nail bed perfectly, okay? And this is, once we make it all nice and the same side, we don't want the tip to be sticking out too much, so. And then usually I have a duster, but I don't know why I don't have a duster. Okay, now that's good, dust off, and again, we're gonna use a little bit of acetone on the nail bed, like this, and we're gonna wipe it off nice and clean. The reason why we do this is because, again, we don't know if they have makeup, oil, you know, all that good stuff on there. So I'm gonna give it a nice little wipe. And when you do design, what do you call it, like designer nails or like nail art, like that's very time consuming. I'm actually gonna only prime like 4 or 5 nails at a time, okay? I'm not gonna prime 10 fingers at the same time because sometimes, you know, we take too long to work on it. The primer becomes like it's not working anymore because the oil on your nails actually recirculate back up and defeats the purpose of priming. So now actually these brushes are actually done soaking off nice and clean for me. I'm actually gonna wipe it off, right? You see? So in the meantime of me like getting my nails ready and stuff like that, I actually went ahead and soaked my brush off in monomer just to make sure that I'm gonna have a clean brush to work with. And I am using number 14, and we're gonna use second nude today. I feel like I'm a creature of habit. I like to use the same color a lot of time, and we're gonna give it a nice little tap, boom, 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 to make sure that there is nothing stick to the lid. And then we open it. Oh, this one is half empty already. You can tell I use it a lot. I'm gonna fluff up the powder like this towards me. You see how it's laid flat like that? I'm gonna fluff it up like I usually do. I am using the not polished monomer. It's a BMA monomer and it's a medium set and it's perfect right now. I'm gonna start with the pinky first actually. Well, it's, you know, you can kind of know when the powder is a little bit runnier. I'm gonna hold it in place for a second and then let go. I'm gonna push it upward, okay? Push it up, up, up. When it's running, we don't want to drag it off. Hold it in place. Up. Okay. Up a little bit. Now it's set a little bit more. I'm gonna pull it towards the center. Okay, now it's kind of setting a little bit more. Then I'm gonna go ahead and drag it off the nail. See? When it's runny, we don't want to pull, okay? I'm gonna do some red nails again. That's why I kind of kept my thumb, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do red nails and it's gonna go well with my set, so I'm not gonna take it off. Even though actually the thumb is my favorite to work on when I'm working on myself. I'm constantly kind of dipping my brush in monomer, just kind of wet a little bit. Okay. Again, guys, I am working all in real time. Okay, I am not rushing. As you can see how slowly I'm pulling the product down, and then towards the end like this, you can cut it off like that. And then, so this is on myself, so I like to flip it around and make sure that it's super straight at the end. I'm doing it super straight at the end because it's gonna save us a lot of time in shaping. Again, mold your shape first, okay? Mold it nice and clean. Looks good. You see? Keep the shape nice and neat. I'm gonna do the index now because I don't want to touch the pinky. You know me, I always end up touching the nail. You guys notice how I'm dropping my bead down like kind of sideways a little bit? This way my bead is actually nice and more tapered. Hold it in place, push it up. Hey guys, what's your guys' favorite type of Christmas nails? I think I love the candy cane looks. I don't know, I just love red. Red is beautiful for Christmas. So, and you guys notice I've been doing a lot of red nails, right? I get in a little thing where when something looks good, I keep doing it. Right, and then do you know again, I say this all the time in all my videos, the best kind of practice you can actually get is practicing on yourself. You know why? I don't know, for one, you like more comfortable in the zone. When you're in your zone, you can just actually sit there and work on yourself for like 3 hours. But when you're working on somebody for 3 hours, you get kind of like antsy and you get rushed, you know, you feel like you're rushing. So when you're working on yourself, like kind of, it gives you more time to be like very more patient, I guess, more patient with yourself. And that way you can get in a little bit more details and you can see how you shape and all that. And actually when I first started doing nails, I actually used the e-file on myself. That's how I you know, like when you first start, the e-file is very intimidating. It's scary. It's a machine, you know. It's a machine you're running at like kind of not really high speed, but still kind of speed. And then it's sharp, so you're kind of scared that you might cut your client and whatnot. So it's intimidating. So I think using the e-file on yourself kind of give you that like a little bit more knowledge of like when you run it at a certain speed and how it feels when you cut yourself as well. So you kind of like be more careful when you're working on your clients, because I see some people like they end up cutting the clients stuff like that, and that hurts. And again, I always look at it this way. You can see like, ooh, kept the shape pretty well, right? So I hope this video actually will turn out better than my other video, because we got a little bit better of the understanding of the recording. So hold it in place. You see how it's kind of running on the side? I'm just gonna take it and push it towards the center. Push it towards the center. Once the powder's set, I'm just gonna pull it off a little bit more. I don't know if you guys hold your brush handle as high as I do. I learned this technique when I kind of became like kind of allergic to a certain kind of monomer I was using before I used the not polish. Before we even have the not polished monomer, I was using something else, and I think it became allergic to it from like being overexposed to it. and I was started breaking out, and I was like, dang, I tried all type of cream to try to help it, you know, like try to help with my my breakout, and no cream works. I even bought like the heavy duty gloves as well, and thinking like that's gonna help, and it didn't help. The cream, the gloves, I even double gloves, you know, I wore double gloves, didn't work. I like lather my hand in like alcohol, thinking like, you know, the thick lather is actually gonna help it from like, you know, sticking to it, but it didn't. So one day somebody mentioned something like, something that kind of, you know, the light bulb went off, and then I was like, I think if I switch up the way I hold my brush like this, my handle, it will actually kind of eliminate like the monomer exposure to my hand. So I was like, I need to learn how to do that. So because even if you hold it, when we hold it down here, the monomer actually travels up to here. So we still are touching the monomer. So I'm like, I used to hold it like this, like how, you know, we usually would hold it. And I'm like, why am I still breaking out? I'm not touching the monomer, but the monomer actually travels up to the brush. I mean, to this part. That's why our brushes always get ruined right here, because we're touching the monomer and we're moving it up and down, up and down. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm touching the monomer still. I switch up my hold, and now I hold it really high up, and guess what? No more allergic reaction. Or it could be, I switch up my monomer. I don't know. But that's kind of why I hold the brush up high. Does that make sense, what I just told you guys? I hope it helps some people. I actually met a girl, and she was breaking out pretty bad, and I told her, I was like, hey, you should try. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but it worked for me. You should try to do it like this. And she tried it, and you know what? She messaged me, and she was like, hey, thank you for the little tip, the little technique. It actually helped clear up my hand. So I'm like, wow, it's really good to hear, because, you know, it's just like sometimes, like, you know, we do nails for so long, and just one day we just develop allergic reaction. It's because we overexpose ourselves with the chemical, you know. So now I'm just kind of like eliminate it by holding it a little bit higher. And then I love just like a nice nude background to draw all kind of artwork on top of it. So what shape are you guys, like, what shape is actually trending right now? Like, what shape is actually popular right now? I feel like the taper square is still pretty popular. Or at least to me, you know, I love it. I used to do like, so I went through a phase where I did nothing but, if you guys follow me from a long time ago, like 5 years ago, where I only did stiletto nails, and then I went through a phase where only coffin nails, and now guess what? I'm square. I'm a square now, so I kind of wonder like what's the next like trending shape's gonna be, you know? What's the next popular? I mean, what other shape do we have besides, I don't know. Well, we do have a lot of like the Russian almonds and all that. Okay, now we're gonna go in around the cuticles. Make sure my brush is actually clean. I use the Bounty paper, okay guys? It's the best kind of napkins for to clean the brush off. Hold it in place for a second. I'm gonna let it run into the cuticle just a bit. Clean my brush, kind of flush it into the cuticle, hold it in place, and then I'm gonna brush it down. Hold it in place. I'm gonna tap it up a little bit. Give it run to the side a little bit. Want to clean it. Now I already have acrylic stuck to my brush, so I'm actually gonna switch it out. You see, this is why I use two of the brush. Do you know, I feel like when it's cold and the product, if it runs a little bit more, I feel like I get my brush a little bit dirtier faster. Because the product is kind of runny, a little bit more runnier, on the runnier side when it's cool. And I feel like it sticks to my brush a little bit more. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna switch out my brush. And I'm actually gonna add a little bit more monomer into the jars. And again, make sure we point the product downward, okay guys? Hold it down so the gravity actually pull it down. If we hold it sideways, it's gonna, we hold it like really flat, it's gonna actually run on the side. You see how it's kind of runny still? If it's runny, all I'm doing is kind of like pushing it towards the center of the nails and kind of clean the edges off. Don't freak out when it gets a little bit runny, okay guys? Just kind of play with it, mold it into its place, and then push it up. Push it up, and then now I'm going to pull it off. Apply a little bit more pressure when I pull it off. It's hard to focus to be in frame and try to work with your powder as well. You can see, like, look at my shape. You see that? I kept the shape and the smoothness of the nails as well. I'm actually going to pick up less monomer because it's a little bit runny. Hold it in place. You see? Less monomer, less runnier. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to push it up towards the, creating the apex. And then clean off the edges. I'm going to zoom in on the cuticles so you guys can see it. Make sure we don't like flood the product into the cuticle too much, because when it's all flooded into the cuticles, what happens is when the client nails grow out, it can cause lifting. If it doesn't lift, then if the nails actually grew out without lifting, if it's like flooded to the cuticle, then it's gonna like it's gonna look like a thick mountain right there where it grew out, you know. So you can kind of see, like, you see that, like I'm creating like an apex, but it's not like it's just gonna, like, you can see there is an apex to it, and it's just like more like straight. So we want straight nails. The new thing is straight nails, but straight nails has to have some kind of structure to it and not like straight super flat where it can break easier. Why am I being like so awkward when I record? Put it in place. What I'm doing right now is just kind of hold it in place and kind of flushing the product into the cuticles. Clean whatever is like running onto the edge. Make sure we clean it when it's wet, okay? Make sure we keep it nice and clean when it's wet. Okay, now we're gonna fold this. This is still wet. This is still kind of wet. You can see. You see how it's shiny? That means wet. I'm gonna fold this up and actually toss this in my gallon and then close the cap so the smell kind of stay away. I don't have a gallon right now. Okay, so we're gonna wait for this to dry just a bit, and then oh, look at this. You see how I'm trying to show you this cuticle. So you see how it's like flush into the cuticles. Okay, now we're gonna go in a little bit more detail with the shaping. I'm gonna use the not polished 5-in-1 CrossFit like I always do. All right, here you go. I think the did I start with the pinky first? Yeah, I think I start with the pinky. You can see, like, I didn't really ruin the shape of the nails too much, so the shaping doesn't really take me a long time. So again, on the right side, I am gonna bring it upwards like this. right? Tapering it in, not too much, just enough, you know. Don't do too much where you're gonna expose the side of the nails. We don't want the nail plate to be smaller than the acrylic nails, because we don't want it to break. I'm gonna show you guys how. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys a little bit how, like, you see it just one straight lane.
Probably closer.
Right here, one straight line. You see this size, like right here at the edge, it doesn't dip in. We don't want it to dip in. We want it just like really straight. Okay. So there you go. I pre-shaped that a little bit, right? Pre-shape. So we're gonna do a little bit pre-shaping. Pre-shape. When I'm pre-shaping, I'm actually running at a very low speed, like a 10 RPM. But not too low. When you run when you're using your Dremel, your e-file, you if you run it at like really slow speed, it actually can bounce. Does that make sense? It's kind of like you filing it kind of bounce off the nail. I think that's the right word. Not too much, not too much. Okay. That shape looks good. And then I'm gonna go in around the cuticles. You can go ahead and pull back the skin a little bit, and then on the edge we're gonna pull it down to make sure if there any skin, any acrylic that's stuck to the skin, we can kind of pull it off. So when we file, we don't end up cutting the client's skin, you know. You can see, so I kind of pull it off a little bit, pull it back. Okay, now we're gonna go into the cuticles, and with this bit, it's easy to get really into the cuticle, but we don't want to. That's why we don't make it thick around the cuticle, because if you make it too thick around the cuticle and you keep on filing around the cuticles, when the clients come back, what happens is your nail's gonna have like a ring of fire. What's a ring of fire? We say that all the time. Is when the clients go back, it's like a dented, like it's dented and it's red, and we can ruin the nails that way. When I work around the cuticles, I'm always like this, directly on top, so I can see. But once the cuticle looks good, I always look at the nail at an angle again. Okay, angle. At an angle to make sure it's nice and smooth. We don't need to over file. We don't need to file too much. As long as it's nice and smooth, one length, we're good. Nice and smooth. Okay, now that looks good. I look at it from both angles. So this angle and then this angle. There you go. Okay. So now we're gonna go in and shape the nails. So divide it in 3 sections again, right? 1, 2, 3. 3 sections. Here's a good question. What podcast do you guys listen to while you guys do nails? Well, when you work on yourself. Murder mystery. I know we all listen to murder mystery.
Extreme murder mystery.
It's what?
Extreme murder mystery.
Extreme. My playlist. What murder mystery podcast you guys listen to? I listen to Bailey Sarian. I listen to Crime Junkie. I listen to Rotten Mango. And I feel like I'm running out of things to listen to because I think I listened to all of them already. You have anything for me, Shauna?
Not polished playlist.
It's the perfect kind of playlist you can listen to while you learn how to do nails. You can hear me talk in the background, and you can, do nails at the same time. I'm gonna show you guys. Look, you see how it's not dented. You see that? It's not. We don't want this part to, like, when you guys shape the nails, I see some nails where it's super dented right here, because what they end up doing is because they want to make the tips super slender and thin, and taper, and then they over file and expose the side of the nails right here that can break off really easy. So we don't want that. So sometimes the client nail bed is a little bit bigger. We have to stay within the nail bed so it looks better. Like, it has to be tapered from all the way from the top to the bottom. Don't make the top, like they have wider nail bed, you make it super like wider right here and you make it super thin right here. It doesn't look good. It has to go together with the nail bed, okay? So keep it within its range. I'm hanging to the nails because I don't want to add pressure. So when you shaping your client nails and you're going across, make sure you hang on to it. You see how this like bouncing and there's no support, and it can cause the discomfort. So I'm actually hanging on to the nail bed. And then we look at it from this angle, right? This angle looks straight, you see that? So we look at it from this angle directly on top, and then when I'm gonna flip it around to make sure it's actually straight this way as well, because a lot of time it's straight on one side, on our side, and then we flip it around, it's like super crooked or whatever. So we're gonna make sure it looks good this way as well. You can see that. Look at that shape. It tapers from all the way from the top all the way down one side. Okay, I did not make the tip smaller than this. It kind of like, if you go with coffin, it's gonna be a smidge shorter, but it's still one side. You see that? And straight across. And now this is good, right? We're gonna go in and actually like remove if there's anything on the bottom of the nails, if anything that's sticking out, we're gonna remove it. You kind of see. You see how that's really straight? And then now we're gonna go in and actually, I'm gonna thin it out just the tip, the top of the nails just a bit. Make sure it's nice and smooth and even. So I like to thin it out just the tip of the nails, and we're gonna flip it over and remove whatever stuck to it. You can see that I don't have like product stuck to the bottom of my nails. Okay, when you apply your powder, try to keep the product away from sticking on the bottom of the nail. And if there's some stuff that's stuck on the bottom, make sure we go in and remove it. Okay guys, I already have the shapes are nice and neat. Actually, before we buff them, I'm actually gonna go in and seal the cuticles real good with this cuticle bit from Not Polished as well. And again, this is another safety bit. We always use safety bit nowadays, right? And we're just gonna go in around the cuticle and just seal it nice and neat. So if you guys have like trouble with lifting, you can try to use this bit to kind of help it out a lot. Because sometimes we're afraid to get really close to the cuticles, and this one you actually can get all up in it, you know? Okay, nice, and kind of round out the cuticles as well. Make the cuticles all nice and round. You see that? Nice and round. Now it's done. We're gonna go in and we make sure we buff it nice and smooth. Okay. Alright guys, this is good. Alright, it looks good. I'm gonna actually go wash my hands. So I'm gonna remove all the dust off. Look, my thumb is still on. Still looks good. Alright guys, we're gonna be right back. Alright guys, I already washed my hands this time, and you can see like the nail is already done nice and smooth. The cuticle is like super rounded. And then now we're gonna go in with a matted top coat, okay? Remember, my little trick is I always put on a thin layer of the matte top coat because I want the nails to come, my line to come out super nice and smooth. So I'm just gonna do like a really thin layer on, okay? It's a quick thin layer actually. Kind of see, I don't have to go all the way to the cuticles. I'm just gonna thin layer. And then now this is all done, I'm gonna actually cure it another light for like 30 seconds, good. Alright guys, I already have the matte top coat on and nice and cure, so now it gives me a super smooth surface to work with. And again, I am going to use the red that we've been using is the Gel Liner Art Redemption. This is like one of my favorite red. And I'm going to do a deep French on this one. Again, I'm going to go with the deep French, and you know how I like to do my deep French. I'm going to remove all the paint off the brush, and then I always start from one corner all the way up as high as I'm gonna make my French, and then one long stroke and then bring it across. You see, just one long stroke and across, and then I kind of like connect it like this, and then I'll bring it up. So we reverse the French all the way up. And I always look at it from this angle as well to make sure that my French is straight. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in and color. I'm gonna show you guys how I color the line like directly down. One long stroke all the way down. I'm not gonna go over the free edge too much, okay? This one long stroke down as well. Okay. I'm holding down a little bit for you guys to see. Alright guys, this is, so far we have this now. I think I'm gonna do like some stars on the rest of them. Like, we haven't done stars. I did sugar canes, peppermints, and then now I feel like, you know, Christmas we need some stars as well. So we're gonna just do cute little white stars. You can see how fine this brush is. Alright guys, so now I have this on already and I feel like we need to bling it out just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually using the bling it on in red. Let's go over in red, and I'm going to use our diamond glue gel. Oh, this one is kind of empty. Alright guys, so what to go in, I'm actually gonna glue this on. This one is kind of empty. Give it a nice squeeze. Don't overdo it with the diamond gel, only what you need, okay? With a matte top coat on the rest of the nails. I am going to add some tiny little gems on my middle finger, but I'm going to do that last because it's smaller gems, so it's actually harder for me to go around it with the matte top coat. This is actually a little bit bigger, so it's easier for me to maneuver around it without like getting it on top of the gems, you know. What I did is I removed the 2 diamonds on the side because I actually didn't like how it looked. So guess what? So now we're done, and what I'm going to do is use my paper towel to kind of clean up my gel brushes, and I'm just going to wipe off the gel white. Just wipe it off nice and clean, no soaking or anything, right? And boom, back in. And now we've been soaking our brushes, so I'm just gonna nicely press, apply a little pressure, so I'm kind of flatten it out and place it, make sure it's sticking up. And now you have clean brushes and clean nails all done. Let me show you guys how it looks like. Look, I'll post this on Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time.